Most of us can't travel internationally, a lot of us can't even travel domestically, so I thought I'd make this quick video on the most dangerous airports in the world to keep you entertained if you are quarantined and stuck at home. And to be honest, to keep me entertained because I'm quarantined and stuck at home as well. If you are sitting at home at the moment like me and just watching the world go past you at a million miles an hour, I thought this list of airports might be a fun one to try and challenge yourselves to land at if you do have a flight simulator at home. If you don't have a flight sim and you're not that worried about landing at them, I'll just go through the list anyway and show you some footage. You can also YouTube some of these. Some of the landings into these places are bonkers. But if you do have a flight sim, set your visibility to, I don't know, rubbish, and see how many of these airports you can land at first time. Okay, number one, Courcheval, which is a ski resort airport in the French Alps. A crazy short runway of just over 530 meters, but the interesting thing here is it has a gradient of just under 20%. Yes, it has a hill basically in the middle of the runway. There's obviously terrain all around you because you are landing in a ski resort, and the elevation of the airport is 6,500 feet. It's an incredibly difficult approach, but not only that, is when you're actually coming to touchdown, the runway can actually disappear from below you as you're trying to flare. A tricky airport at the best of times, especially if the runway surface is slippery. Next up is the Tenzing Hillary Airport, also known as Lukla Airport. It's the main airport for Everest Base Camp. There's a few types of planes that go in and out of there, and to be honest, there's probably fewer pilots who are experienced enough to get their planes in and out of there as well. The elevation is a mere 9,300 feet. It's almost 10,000 feet above sea level, and the airport contends with high winds, cloud cover, rain showers, the weather that you typically associate with mountainous regions in that part of the world. If you're on your flight sim, try landing there with like a Twin Otter or a Dornier DO228. If you get in there first time without incident, let me know in the comments below. I'll personally reply with a high five. No, I'll personally reply with an elbow bump. Next up is Madeira Airport. I think they've renamed it to Cristiano Ronaldo Madeira Airport. Now the difficulty with this one is because it's basically jutting out to sea, it's impacted by a lot of winds that roll off the hills, by the winds that come in off the ocean itself. There's no direct instrument approach, so you have to break off an instrument approach and land it visually. And at the end of the 2.7 kilometer runway is basically a cliff. So if you overshoot, you're going to be flying again for a short time before your plane will actually come to a full stop. Next is Queenstown Airport in New Zealand. Now, any pilots wanting to land at Queenstown have to undergo specific specialised approach in order to be able to be signed off to land at that airport, and also they need to do their training with other captains on board. Those of you that know a little bit about instrument flying, this isn't like a standard RNAV approach that you do, or there's no ILS, because you're actually coming in around corners to get around the terrain into Queenstown. This is an RNP, or Required Navigation Performance approach, which not many people are trained on, not many aircraft can actually fly. That, combined with the nature of the terrain, the weather conditions that Queenstown gets as well sometimes. You can see the mountains coming out the top of the clouds, you go into the clouds, and when you come out the bottom, you bloody hope that there's a runway in front of you. Next up is Narsarsuaq Airport in... How do you pronounce that actually?
Narsarsuaq.
Oh, I wouldn't have thought. Narsarsuaq Airport. Now, the interesting one about this, it's on the southern tip of Greenland. It's quite a remote airport. It's kind of up a valley or a fjord. Is it fjords in Greenland? And similar to Queenstown Airport, the approach doesn't actually give you a direct line up with the runway. When you become visual, the runway is probably going to be at a slight angle to your approach path, so you're having to still turn when you're low and slow and in the final stages of approach. If you're looking to fly into Narsarsuaq in your flight simulator, I would recommend something like a DC-4. Go back to the traditional days of aviation across the North Atlantic when they were stopping there. Next up, pick a hot day, pick a low pressure day, maybe put in some low visibility, and try and land at Telluride Airport in America. It has a single runway of 7,000 feet, but it needs to be long because something called density altitude can really bite you here on a hot, humid, low pressure day. I've seen other YouTubers landing at Telluride, and as well as being a challenge for pilots, it looks beautiful. It looks like a really cool place to land. So it's somewhere I would love to go and land. Maybe not this year, let's see what happens with the round the world trip, but at some point in the future, I would love to try and land there. But give it a go. You know, set your temperature a bit high if you're trying it on a flight sim, set your conditions a little bit tricky, and just see how long it takes you to roll the aircraft to a halt on a hot, humid, low pressure day when you're trying to land at 9,000 feet. Staying in America, and actually not too far from Telluride, is Aspen Airport in Colorado. Now this feeds the ski resorts around that Colorado area, so naturally it's going to be quite high. It's not quite as high though as Telluride. The elevation's only 7,800 feet above sea level. It has a single runway and some really interesting approaches to get into the airport. Even some of the visual flying into the airport itself on a beautiful clear day looks incredibly challenging just with the terrain that's around there. So definitely one to try in your flight sim. If you're going to fly into Aspen and you want to make it realistic, it has to be something like a Gulfstream G6, just some really crazy expensive private jet. In fact, legally a private jet is the only thing you're allowed to land at Aspen Airport. I'm including this next one. It's somewhere I've always wanted to go to. It's Princess Juliana International Airport, based on the island of St. Martin in the Caribbean. You've all seen the images of like a KLM 747 flying over the beach, barely missing the heads of the beachgoers before it touches down on the runway. A very interesting approach because it's all over water before the threshold of the runway. The only plane that I think you should land there if you are going to try this in a flight sim is of course a 747. I don't actually think they fly them in there anymore now. I think it was 2016 when they stopped. They replaced the 747 with the A330. You could try that, but it's not as sexy a plane as the 747, let's be honest. KLM 747 into Princess Juliana Airport, and then when you're taking off and departing the airport, you get bonus points for the number of beachgoers that you can blow back into the ocean. I'm going to spend the rest of this afternoon now on my flight simulator trying some of these approaches. If you have a flight sim at home or on your iPad or on your iPhone, whatever you're using, I think you should try it too. Thanks as always for watching. Give us a like if you enjoyed this. And if you're new to the channel and you love your aviation content, click on that subscribe button. It means a lot to me to see the channel grow. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Stay safe and I'll talk to you again soon.